Arleen, how are you?
I am fantastic, Beth. How are you today?
I am fantastic. I'm actually in Detroit, Michigan today. It's a little cooler than South Florida.
Yeah, well, I'm in San Antonio, and I was in Phoenix over the weekend. So that
Ha!
was 116, and today I think we will be just under 100. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, summertime.
Yeah, summertime. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on Women Investor Wednesdays. Even though we're recording this not on a Wednesday, so you guys get a little see behind the action. But I've been so blessed with meeting so many women that are investors that I'm doubling up. Usually, last year we were looking for women, and it seems like I'm meeting more and more. So I'm actually doing the Women Investor Wednesdays, and then if some women can do it Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I think we'll have probably 50 to 75 videos by year end of all women like you that are investors that our audience can learn from and hear stories from and journeys about. So thank you for being here.
Well, and thank you for hosting the podcast. I love to see other women educating others, right? I think the more we share about our journeys, the more hopefully it inspires other women to take action and to invest and grow their wealth. So I'm just
Exactly.
so excited to be here and thankful to you that you have taken on this mission to educate women.
Well, back in 2019, I heard a terrible stat. I read that of all of the investors in commercial real estate, only 3% are women. And then as I delved deeper, that 3%, 50% of that were spouses who were just like signing on guarantees, right, with their husbands, or inherited. And I thought, wow, 1.5%. I'm a part of 1.5%. That is deplorable. We have to do something to change that. And so I started interviewing women I knew saying, do you invest in commercial real estate? Who are in the commercial real estate field, by the way, right? This is legal insider trading, what we
Right.
do. And they would say, no, I don't invest in real estate. I go, well, do you invest anywhere? Oh yeah, the stock market. And I go, well, why don't you invest in commercial real estate? Well, it's risky. I go, you don't think the stock market's risky? My Netflix stock dropped 80% last year, So,
Right.
or they said it's too complicated, or I don't like math, or just a bunch of reasons. But then, and I kind of debunked all of them based on what else they were investing in. And then I think the real reason that we fettered out was they didn't see any other women doing it. And I said, that's something I can help with. Right. So we created a conference. This year would be our 5th, but that only, the first year we had 100 people virtually during COVID. And then the next year, I think we had 120, and then 150, and then 100 last year, 177. So this year I know we'll sell out at 200, but 200 is not enough. So I said, how else can I reach more women? And that's where we came up with this podcast, which is great because when we repost these videos, we get thousands of women and men watch these videos and learn about all these great women like you that are investing. So I'm just hoping that the more exposure we all, with all of us sharing our stories, it gets out to more and more women. So now speaking about that, let's talk about Arleen's story.
Awesome.
So you didn't wake up with 650 million under management, right? So let's go back. So
Okay.
Can you remember the first deal, commercial real estate deal you invested in, and how did it come about?
I can. So I'll start by saying that I was in banking for 20 years.
At Bank of America, right? I saw Bank of America.
That was my last, corporate job. And while I was there, I managed banks. I managed an international private banking department. So I was talking to people about investing, but it was a total different type of investment. And being a very conservative person by training and by nature, when an opportunity came for us to invest in multifamily apartments, I was a little afraid. So I can relate to the women who are a little concerned about the risk, concerned about what is this going to, how's this going to end up? Because I was there in
Me too. Me too.
yeah,
I was there too.
yeah. In 2008, we moved from Dallas to San Antonio with the idea of buying apartments. And we spent literally 3.5 years educating ourselves, my husband and I, about how do you underwrite it? What are the numbers behind it? The numbers behind anything are so important. But what I found is that it's not rocket science. There's a lot out there that teaches you how to look at these numbers. So that shouldn't be the fear factor, right? That shouldn't be the thing that stops you.
Now, so was your husband, what did your husband do for a living? You were in banking. What did he do?
He had a property management software company.
Okay.
So he had seen what owners were doing that were using his software. I think he had over 15,000 users across the country.
Wow.
Kind of small, medium-sized owners. And so he'd been exposed to it a little bit, but I had not. I would hear him talk about work and what was happening and all of that, but I never actually got on the software. I didn't understand it. I didn't know any of that. So
when you said you moved to San Antonio and you spent 3.5 years, did you guys take classes, workshops? Were you going online, reading books? Like, how, besides educating yourself in the market, how else did you educate yourself?
We joined real estate groups, which I would highly recommend. There are so many networking groups, meetups, other groups, mentor groups, etc. And so that is how we became exposed to other owners and really heard real life stories about what was happening. So, and I will just step back and say, we took way too long. We shouldn't have taken 3.5 years, right? We really should have done it much, much faster than we did. But that was the story, right? And so in 2012, we found a 24-unit property. That was our first opportunity to buy here in a little suburb in San Antonio. And, wow, there was so much to learn. I mean, all the books, all the reading, all the networking, kind of came full circle, but all of a sudden it's like, oh gosh, it's here. I've got to really do this. So, we worked with a person who was mentoring us. I mean, it wasn't anybody we paid, but she had done it and had been in the industry. And so she brought us this opportunity. And so when we started looking at it, it was an out-of-state owner. He lived in California. So he wasn't here all the time. But the property had good bones. It was built 100% from brick. It had, we knew the roof probably needed some work, but it was an experience because here is this gentleman, 70 some odd years old. The day we were doing due diligence, he pulls up in front of the property in a green pickup truck, pulls out this big suitcase, opens it up, plops it on the hood of his truck, opens it up, and there's all these papers swimming around in there. And we said, well, what is this? And he said, well, those are all the leases, and those are the bank statements, and that's everything you need to know about this property. It's a good property. And so we're like, oh gosh. And so my banking training came into place because we had to recreate the financial statements from bank statements. He just didn't have any.
Yeah.
But we saw the opportunity. We looked around. The pool had not been open in 5 years, according to some of the residents we saw. We went in to do some of the due diligence. There were literally screwdrivers sticking out of where a faucet handle would normally be. One unit, literally the sun was coming through the roof because he had not repaired the roof. But the bones were good. And so we did our estimates. We figured out what we could do, and we brought on a small partner. He and his wife.
Wait, so did he have a price listed?
He did have a price listed.
And when you went in and you said, okay, we've got to replace the roof, we've got it, all these, like, did you go in and say, like, did you say, yes, we'll buy it for that? And then did you try to get a credit for the things you found, or you?
We did. Yeah. And the trick there is you're not picking on little things like landscaping, right? You want to pick on the big things, foundations and roofs. And so foundation was rock solid, but the roof obviously wasn't. We saw that. So we did ask for a credit. We got an estimate, so we knew what it was going to take to replace that roof. And so we did get a credit and got a good price on the property.
So and then you said, okay, why did you bring in the partner? Because you needed some help with the equity, or?
Good question. Yeah. So, although my husband had run businesses, I had been in business in the banking world, we didn't have experience running a multifamily property. So we needed to bring somebody into the transaction, a partner that had experience, so that the bank, Wells Fargo in this case, was comfortable lending to us. So we brought he and his wife in. They invested $20,000 because, again, the reason we needed him wasn't for the capital, but it was for the experience. And he proved to be very valuable. He also provided some vendors that he trusted, that we knew we were going to need to do the renovation of the property. He recommended.
What did he get out of it? What was his piece? Do you remember?
I think we gave him 10% ownership of the deal.
But Wells Fargo gave you the loan because you had him on the team.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. We would not have gotten the loan without somebody that had experience. So partnerships are very valuable in this business, but you also need to make sure that there are partnerships that work, right? It's a marriage. It's a business marriage. And so you need to get along. You need to have similar decision-making processes. And because in the end, you're in it. You're in it for 3 to 5 years or however long it takes to sell or refinance the property.
So that was 2012. Do you still own it?
No, unfortunately, we wish we'd have kept it, but we did sell it. We sold it, I think it was 3.5 years into the ownership. And along the way, we bought a property around the corner so that we could hire a part-time manager, because my husband and I were doing everything, right? Which was okay. We learned it. We will never look back on that as a terrible time. We look at it as a learning time. And so when, after we bought the 28 unit around the corner, then somebody came and made us an offer on the first 24 unit. And Beth, it was at a 370% return. Yes. So I thought, this works, and it works very nicely.
Let's do it again.
Yes. So we did. And really, to date, we've bought 33 properties.
Wow.
Just under 6,000 units.
Wow.
We expanded from San Antonio to Houston, and then we bought a property in Austin last year. And we've got plans to hopefully find some things that work in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, because Texas is growing, right? We know it's going to create more opportunity.
So, and is it only you and your husband at this point, or have you brought in other partners? Or
okay, so probably the first 4, it was primarily us. We did hire some staff members to help us run them, accountants, because I don't like accounting. I understand it, but it's not what I want to do. And regional managers who could help manage the managers on the properties. Today, we managed the first ones, tried third-party management, and then in 2019, we brought all the properties back in-house, reformed our management company. And so today we have about 180 employees. Yes, a lot of them are on our properties. But for us, it's the way we wanted to do it. We wanted to have control over what happens at the properties day in and day out. And we wanted to control the way our residents are treated. The resident carries our paychecks in their pockets every day. So they have to be the number one person that we are, catering to. And then right behind that are our investors. So we did bring in some limited partners. To date, about 2,000 or so
Wow.
limited partners that have grown along with us and have invested their dollars and have grown their wealth right alongside ours. And it's been beautiful. I mean, we have truly enjoyed it. It's a lot of work, but it's work that we're passionate about. When you get to take a community that the pool hadn't been opened in 5 years, or the rain and the sun's coming through the roof, and you can repair it and fix it and make it a much better home, a much better community. Boy, that feels good. And to me, I just see what we do as a feel good business. Not only do we get to make money for ourselves and other investors, but we get to give people a great place to live. And there's nothing you can compare to that.
Absolutely. So back to the investors. So the are all your properties in the 28 range units, or are you buying 400 units? Like, what's the range of the sizes of the units? And then, so let's start there.
Okay, great. So today the range would be 36 units, but that is what's called a build to rent community. So it's all townhomes. So we bought that one strategically because we wanted experience managing a built to rent community, because now we're developing one. We're building one from the ground up. So it gave us experience. And the range is up to 390 units. That's the biggest that we bought. Average is around 200 today. But I will say that people shouldn't shy away from smaller. Just know how you're going to manage them, because it does take your time or somebody else's time to manage them. And the bigger the property, the more economies of scale that you have.
For sure. And how do you find the deals? Do you have brokers that are like that, they love you and they bring you deals because you close on them? Do you go on Crexy or LoopNet? Do you drive around and look up on the tax rolls and see that this 77-year-old man has a suitcase full of leases? Do you find that guy? Like, love that story. That's my favorite story.
Yes. Well,
Did you say it was green? Did you say that the suitcase was green?
The suitcase was green and the truck was green.
And the leases represented green.
That's right. That's right. Good way to look at it. Well, for us, in the beginning when we were starting, we did all of that. We looked on Crexy, we did all of that. But now we find that it's more efficient to work through brokers. Yeah. They will bring you both deals that are marketed and off-market opportunities. And it's building that reputation. And I will tell people that if you're interested in being an active investor versus passive, you should develop those relationships. Get on the email list for all of these brokers, CBRE, Berkadia, JLL, all of the Walker Dunlop. They all have great information. They're constantly posting new opportunities, and their research information that you get is incredible. They will tell you all about markets, all the data of how rents are growing and what is the population doing, what are jobs doing in that market, how are the schools. All of that information is very readily available. You just have to go out there, get on those lists, and find it.
When you first, you and your husband, you had 4 projects, and you're like, okay, how did you decide, the two of you, and you had that other partner? My guess is when you cashed out of that first deal with that first partner, did he stick around, or did he go, I'm taking my 300% and going?
He actually invested with us in the 28 unit around the corner.
Okay.
And it
more than 20,000.
About the same.
Okay.
Yes, about the same. And again, we wanted to make sure, okay, we have experience, but is it enough, right? When we bought that second one. And so he and his wife stayed in that one. And I think that one ended up being 250% return. So wow. He did well with both of those. And then after that, My husband and I are the primary general partners.
Right.
We will bring some folks in who want to learn periodically, but for the most part, it's he and I.
And then was it when you decided to go out and start scaling or getting investors, was it because you wanted to scale?
It was. Yes, that's exactly why we did that. At some point, your money goes only so far. And so we wanted to leverage, other people's money and leverage banks' money, right? I mean, in a typical transaction today, 60 to 65% of the dollars you bring to close on a property come from a lender. And then the other, you're raising it. Yeah. So
Right.
as we grew from, the first property, we paid $500,000, right? That little 24 unit, 19,000 a door or something like that, crazy, which was fantastic. In
Right.
today's world, the average size properties we're buying are 25 to 35 million. So for that, the equity, the piece that you need from investors has grown. And so that's been a lot of why we've grown our investor database.
Would you say that the 2,000 what percentage of the like if you got a deal tomorrow, 500 units, you send out, your deck to the 2,000 investors, what percentage re-up with you on the next deal?
65 to 70%.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then so you're the GPs, you and your husband, do you do prefs and promotes? What's the capital structure?
We have done for a long time, we just did straight splits, which means investors do get 80%, we get 20. And then now in today's world, we are doing prefs and some waterfalls. So we've grown, we've become a little more sophisticated. However, we don't want to ever have it be so complicated that investors can't understand it. They want to invest. Yeah.
Right. I find the same thing. No, when you said in the beginning we were just straight I thought you were saying and you didn't get a promote. So I'm glad you were getting the promote.
No, we did. Yeah.
I talked to someone recently, and I think last week, someone I interviewed, and she doesn't get, they just split it.
Wow.
And I'm like, good for you. I need a little extra for the work I'm putting in.
Agreed. Because it is a lot of work. And
I'm signing on the note. I mean, exactly. I'm signing on the note.
Yeah.
I'm finding the deal.
Yes.
I'm raising the money, and then I'm working the deal. So
there's
got to be, some vig in there for the sponsor that does all of that. I am not, there are people out there doing 50-50s. I'm not doing that. I pretty much do 20-80. Right. I've also, I have one project that was a lot of work that I did 35-65, but right. That was very unusual. It's mostly 20-80, but it all has to do also with the pref. Like if you pay a higher pref, you can get a higher, if you pay out a higher pref, you can get a higher promote.
Right. Yes. You're exactly right.
And I don't know how you do it with the development deals, but I ended up not closing on this deal because the construction costs were crazy, but I was going to do a development deal. I was going to buy it cash. It was a 2-acre site for $2.6 million. I was going to close with cash. I was going to put in $500,000. I raised $2.5 million. All the money was in the bank. I had to wire it all back to the partners because I couldn't make the deal. But with that deal, I said no pref for the first 2 years because it was a development deal. Mm-hmm. Because I've done that where there's a long lead time on like a repositioning, and I'm accruing the prefs,
right? Which
puts me in a hole.
It does. Yeah. When we do the analysis, we look to see, can the project cover the pref? Sometimes in the first year, it'll cover the majority of it, maybe not all of it. And so you're
not in a ground up development. Aren't you doing
No, because there's no revenue. Yeah.
So that's when I say I can't pay you the pref until we start getting the rents.
Exactly. Yeah. So deal
What do you
structure
know
is very,
of the 2,000 investors do you have? You may have to get back to me on this, or you may know how many women.
I would say probably 10% women.
So I would love for you. I wonder if the 10% are women like me. Are they spouses, like with their husbands? Is it couples?
The 10% women is just women themselves. So it's a higher number if I add the women that are investing with their spouses.
So 10% is great.
Yeah.
That is triple the average.
Yes.
Or more, right? If it's 1.5% and you're at 10, bravo.
Yeah. Yeah. We're excited about that. Yeah, we're big on that. I myself have a podcast called Empowered Investing with Leading Ladies, where I feature some of the women investors that have invested with us from all walks of life. I mean, we have teachers, lawyers, we have, doctors, you name it. But I love the teacher story because they have their teacher retirement funds, but they're like, that's not going to get us there. So we've got these other dollars we've saved, and we're investing it in real estate because we want.
So it's called Empowered Investing with Leading Ladies.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is it on YouTube? Where can I find it?
It is on YouTube.
How many episodes do you have?
5 so far. We just started this year. So we put out one a month or so.
So, and are you only investing your investors are you only interviewing your investors?
In the beginning, yes, but we're now adding other ladies that are active in this. I would love to have you. I would love to have you, Beth. Yes.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm so excited. And I love on your LinkedIn page at the top, your path to passive income.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved that. So you're at over 6,000 units. Bravo. 33 properties.
Yes.
Houston, San Antonio, Austin. Now you're developing from ground up.
We are.
Now, is your family, do you have children, and are they in the business?
We have 2 kids, Victoria and Jack, and they are both in the business with us, which we're so blessed that that's the case. That, when they were in middle school and high school, they would come to those first properties with us and hand out cookies when we had a resident event or hand out pizza. And then they started working on the property. Our daughter worked in leasing, and our son started out in maintenance. And then he asked for a promotion to the leasing office because it was air conditioned. So, yes. And so now they work with us, and we're teaching them what we know. Our daughter is managing our acquisitions and capital events. She's now done 400 million in transactions that she's been a part of.
Amazing.
And our son he just graduated, and so he is building our 200 unit ground up development that we're building here in San Antonio, and a second project, which is just a family project where we're doubling the size of a property that we own by adding more garden style units. So they've both been a part of everything that we've done along the way. And then now our daughter-in-law, who's married to our son, is also working on our marketing team. She helps me with all our branding and my podcast and speaking engagements, all of that.
How I hope you are so proud of yourself.
Yes.
I think what you've done is amazing.
Well, thank you. I think
short time frame.
Yes. Well, I think, when it comes to the kids, I'll just tell parents and whether you're a single parent or, 2-parent household, the kids are listening. So we made it an effort to make sure that we had dinner together as many nights as we could, right? With the kids' busy schedule, sometimes it didn't happen, and we would talk about our businesses. Even when I was in the corporate world, when my husband had a software company, we would share things and ask them to ask us questions about what we were doing and why we were doing it. And, they would repeat it to us later as they got older. And so parents, your kids are listening. Whatever you share with them about what you're doing to grow, they're going to pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a coaching client that he wants my feedback on leasing. He's an investment sale broker, but he bought a retail property in Miami, and it's near where our baseball team plays. So yesterday, my boys and I, they're 23 and 21, went to the baseball game. And I said, oh, I need to drive by this property because I had my first coaching call with this client. And so I was looking at the property online, but it was going to be 3 blocks from where I was. So we were driving around and I was asking my boys, so who do you think could lease here and why? And what made you think of that? In trying to get them to see the demographics and the traffic counts. And so it was fascinating, their take on what I do for a living. And yeah, they used to go to school when they were little, like 8, 9, and 10, and go, oh yeah, we own those shopping centers. I'm like, no. We own blades of grass. The lender owns the shopping center. And we have partners. So we own blades of grass, and don't go telling people at school we own shopping centers.
I love that. I love that your sons were with you and they were learning about what you do, right?
Yeah, it's like
so important.
I said, so this is what I think. And so, yeah, it was fascinating. I said, I haven't done this enough with them. So you're encouraging me and inspiring me to do more of that, because it is, I don't know. Right now I have a podcaster who has a podcast on superheroes in LA, and a golf pro. Like he plays golf in college and wants to follow, Tiger Woods. So
Sure.
Neither of them want to go in the business, but you never know. And it's always good for them to at least be understanding what I'm thinking about and what what we're all doing. So
I agree. We told our kids before they decided to come work with us, we said, go get your degree or whatever it is you're passionate about, but you really should invest your money in real estate. And we started investing their college money early on. And so when they would see those distribution checks come, they asked, well, how did I get a check with my name on it?
Excellent.
And so we explained to them, it's called an investment. It's putting your money to work for you while you sleep, while you go to school, whatever you're doing. And so I think that was a big lesson for them, and it stuck with them. And they both went off and worked with other people. And our daughter has a degree in psychology and a master's in psychology, and actually went to work in Florida at a treatment center.
Wow.
And called and said, I don't think this is what I thought it was going to be. Would you be upset if I went into real estate? And we said, no, not at all. So for us, it's a blessing. We get to build a legacy company that hopefully they will take over. So we are pouring ourselves into teaching them everything we can teach them about our business.
And you only do multifamily?
Only do multifamily at this point. We focused on that. We built scale in San Antonio before we went to Houston, and then we're building scale in Austin. It's just how we've built the business, and so it's what we focus on. Yeah.
Well, one last question before we say goodbye.
Okay.
We have a lot of women who watch the show and haven't started yet. And like you, by the way, I had a boss who came knocking on my door. I'm buying a shopping center. You should invest. Oh no, I don't think I'm going to do that. Like, I was so scared. I was 28 the first time he asked. And then I think a year later, he said, I'm buying another shopping center. We did really great on the last one. I'm like, I was scared. Finally, the third one, he literally dragged me down to the bank. And I kept telling them I didn't have any money because the minimums were $50,000. And I was making 60, 80, maybe 100, but, I didn't have 50 to just, and I thought I was doing really good just putting money in my 401k. So
Right.
he took me down to a bank and co-signed a $50,000 note so that I
Wow.
could invest in the first deal.
Wow.
But, and then that returned unbelievable dividends. Oh, something just popped into my head when I was saying that. What was it? Something about minimum. Oh, what is the minimum for your investors in your deals?
It ranges anywhere from 50 on up.
Okay.
50 to 75 tends to be the number.
Okay, perfect.
On these transactions.
So, advice for women that haven't done it yet, like us. Think back when you and I were scared, right? And we weren't sure. What would be your advice?
The first piece of advice is to educate yourself. I think the horror stories you hear of people investing in things they know nothing about, and then they're surprised when it doesn't go well. There is so much information out there on how to invest, what you should look for. You're going to be in partnership when you start, more than likely, with somebody, a general partner or somebody else who's finding the deal, financing the deal, all of that. So learn about what are the right questions to ask. They're all over. You can go to our website. We've got blogs and white papers and all sorts of things on what the questions you need to answer for yourself. So educate yourself first and then take action. Don't wait for 3.5, 4 years like we did. I don't think that's necessary.
Do you think people should be an LP first?
I would highly recommend it because there's so much you can learn. If you partner with a good general partner, you'll get to see their process. You'll get to see their pro forma budgets. You'll get to see how they communicate. You'll get to see what data they gather,
right,
and how they run the properties. So there's a lot of value in investing passively as a limited partner.
I think so too. Do you guys use a portal for your investors?
We do.
Yeah. I think that's, when we first started, there was no such thing.
We didn't either. We didn't have that either. Yeah. And now the portal makes it so easy because all of the reporting, we do reporting on a monthly basis on every property. And we provide all the data. We put it in the portal so investors can access it 24/7.
Yeah. They get their K1s on the portal. The portal's the best thing ever.
It is.
Well, Arleen, thank you so much for being my guest on the podcast. I would love for you and your daughter to come to the conference, but we'll have a side conversation about that.
That sounds fantastic. We would love to do that. And again, Beth, it's been my true pleasure. I'm so fortunate to have met you in Austin and have connected. And thank you for having me on the podcast. I will say, if anybody has any questions or needs to reach out, they can reach me at invest@reapequity.com, REEP-equity.com, or just go on there and look for all that great educational information that will help you along your journey.
Fabulous. Thank you, Arleen.
Thank you, Beth.
Have a good day.
You
Bye-bye.
too.